This podcast is a KULT Divinity Lost horror actual play dealing with topics and triggering subject matter not suitable for children and is intended for adults. Listener discretion is advised.
That is not my strong suit. That is an 8, which is definitely not better than a 9.
It is not better than a 9. So you get to choose. Are you knocked out? Do you receive a critical wound? Or do you die?
I think what makes the most sense for me right now is actually the critical wound.
So as you step forward, you're laser focused on reaching this citadel, this tower in the distance. And what you don't see below you as you take a step forward, there is a very short but very broad-leafed green and almost silver plant in the ground. Looks like a weed. And you step down into it. And as you step on it, a thorn shoots up and into your foot, almost penetrating all the way through. You immediately hobble and fall forward into the meadow and receive multiple scratches and cuts on your face, hands, arms, chest, groin, everywhere. You are now bleeding from 1,000 cuts.
So I'm laying there and I'm screaming and cursing, and I get violently angry at this situation, and I just start screaming into the void around me. You don't think I see what this is? This is the same thing as the last bit. I'm being crushed by 10,000 feet again. I'm being cut by 10,000 leaves. I get it. This is the same thing, and I'm going to push through it, even if I wasn't able to last time.
You continue laying there, or do you get up and continue on?
If I have to crawl through this, I will do that.
You begin to reach out, elbows dragging yourself through the thistle and the thorns. And it's almost like the plants around you, now that they have tasted your blood, begin to grow taller. I need you to roll Observe a Situation plus Perception, please.
And 11 this time.
As you are crawling forward, you have your eyes up ahead of you, still laser focused on that citadel, doing whatever you can to get there. From behind one of the low rolling hills, you see something, not as if it's walking over the hill, but as if it's rising. And it almost looks like a crescent moon, but it's not shining. It's not bright. It's almost like a mottled brown against all of this color. It's not rising in the sky. It's almost as if it's floating above the meadow and coming toward you. You get to ask one question.
What is my best way through this?
You have shown a remarkable resilience. Your best way through this is to just keep going.
Well, that's good, because it's what I would have done anyway.
Not necessarily through physical means, but your choice to continue on no matter what has always been steadfast. So stick to that. Do you attempt to stand, or are you continuing to crawl?
I'm going to try to do that thing I did with my forehead in the last go around. Essentially, I'd like to use that battlefield medicine to pull that thorn from my foot and close that, rise to my feet and take on whatever's ahead of me.
And what is that roll? Plus soul?
Plus reason, actually.
Plus reason. Then roll plus reason, please.
A 17.
Please describe for us what happens.
I pull myself into that, what did we call it when we were kids? The crisscross applesauce way of sitting. And I pull the injured foot up into the lap, and I grab what's visible, what I can actually grip the tips of my fingers around of that thorn, and pull what's left of it out. And I scream as a spurt of blood, and the viscera and the bones, those tiny bones in the foot, they're just kind of spaced out because of the hole. And I can see all of that. And I cover it up with one of my hands, and I press down on both sides of my foot as hard as I can, just trying to keep the pain inside my body. And then I hold it really tense for as long as I can, and I let go. And just the wave of pressure releases out of my body, and that's what I can feel. What it looks like is like I've sort of crushed my foot between my palms as hard as I could, and when I took one of my hands away, the hole just was gone, like I had smushed everything back into place.
Wonderful. This all happens as this thing is approaching. And then off to the left of it, you see another one coming up over the hill. And then another 4 or 5 beats later, another one off to the right, up over the hill, trailing it. These crescent moons of sorts almost seem to be made of flesh, or is it stone? It's hard to tell from this distance. But as the first one gets closer and closer to you, you can see almost a face in the front curve of it, the shape of a nose. Empty sockets where eyes might have been or never were. Flaps of skin fluttering as it floats toward you. This thing is enormous. You would guess 25, maybe even 30 meters tall. What do you do?
Well, that's disturbing. I've closed this wound. I've tossed the thorn remnant aside. I push myself up. I'm still, of course, just shredded by the cuts from these leaves. I look up and I see this field of these flesh moons moving towards me, and I just kind of wipe my hand across my forehead and down my face, just smearing the blood and mud everywhere.
Dr. Kennedy, A Century in Inferno, featuring Chris Stonecipher as Dr. Kennedy, Duke Walter as the Game Master. Created by Old Curtis, Chris Stonecipher, and Invisible Duke. Produced by TTRP Theater Media.